If you're listening to this, I want to begin by saying, thank you. Thank you for making space in your day for this moment. What you're about to hear is not just a list of life lessons. It's not just words, and it's certainly not advice from a stranger. What you're about to hear is a gift. A gift passed down from the women who've shaped my life, from mothers, wives, sisters, grandmothers, dear friends, women whose strength was quiet but steady, whose kindness ran deep, even when they were tired, whose wisdom was earned not in easy times, but through years of loving, losing, forgiving, and becoming. As a man, I've had the honor of standing beside women through their hardest seasons and their most beautiful ones. I've listened, I've watched, and I've learned more than I can ever repay. This video is my way of honoring them. It's for the women who've lived full lives and still carry unanswered questions. It's for the woman listening right now who might be wondering if her story still matters, if her voice is still needed, if there's more waiting ahead. The answer is yes. So I invite you to take a deep breath, set down whatever you've been carrying, and come sit with me for a while. Let's talk, not as strangers, but as old souls who understand the weight of years and the softness that comes with time. These are the lessons I've gathered, words I've heard whispered in kitchens, cried into pillows, written in journals, and carried in quiet hearts. And now they're yours too. 1. Time. Our most precious gift. You know, when we're young, we think time is endless. We rush through days, chase after things that shine, thinking we'll always have tomorrow to slow down. But somewhere along the way, we realize time isn't something we own. It's something we borrow. I remember sitting at my kitchen window one morning, staring out at the garden, the same garden I used to run through barefoot when my children were little. That morning, everything was still, quiet, and it hit me. Those moments we rush through, the ones we treat like background noise, they're actually the soundtrack of our lives. Time doesn't stop for anyone. Not for a bad mood, not for an argument left unresolved, not even for love. It just keeps moving. And one day, you look in the mirror and see the lines on your face and realize they're not just wrinkles. They're chapters, evidence that you've lived, that you've laughed, that you've survived. Some people chase youth like it's the prize, but you know what I've learned? The real prize is still having time. Not to do everything, but to do what matters. And here's the truth, something I wish someone had told me when I was younger. You can always make more money. You can always clean the house tomorrow, but you can't buy another morning with someone you love. You can't relive the moment your child asks for one more story before bed. And you can't go back and choose to call someone instead of putting it off for later. Because sometimes, later never comes. I want you to think about this. What are the things that truly fill your heart? Not the tasks on your to-do list, not what others expect from you, but you. The woman you are when nobody else is watching. Maybe it's writing, or baking your grandmother's pie recipe. Maybe it's sitting in the sun with a book, or finally painting the canvas you bought 3 years ago. Maybe it's spending time with your sister, or calling that old friend just to say, I was thinking of you. Whatever it is, give yourself permission to do more of that. You deserve it. Time is not a reward for doing everything perfectly. It's a gift you already have. You don't need to wait until everything is organized. You don't have to earn rest or peace or joy. You are allowed to enjoy your life now. Not 10 pounds from now. Not after the kids are grown. Not when you retire. Now. Sometimes, I think we treat time like a chore list. Get this done, check that off, fix this, clean that. But time isn't a chore list. It's a treasure map. It's up to you what you find along the way. If you're always rushing, you'll miss the best parts. The small moments, the morning light coming through your window, the way your dog looks at you like you're the center of their world, the sound of someone you love laughing from another room. And here's another truth that took me years to accept. You're not behind. I don't care what age you are, what your job was, or how much you've been through. You are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to take the next step. You're exactly the age you need to be to begin again, if you want to. There is no deadline for becoming who you're meant to be. Don't let the world rush you. We've been taught to value productivity more than presence. But presence is where life actually happens. Not in the hustle, not in the comparison, but in those small, sacred pauses where you look around and realize, I'm still here, I made it, and this moment matters. So let me ask you, when was the last time you gave yourself permission to just be, to sit, to breathe, to remember the girl you once were, and to thank the woman you've become? Time will keep going. That's a fact, but how we spend it, that's a choice. And today, I hope you choose to spend a little of it with yourself, gently, kindly, with grace, because time is not just ticking, it's speaking. And if you listen closely, it's saying, this moment is yours. 2. Trust, loss, and letting go. There's something that happens to a woman as she grows older. She learns to see people, not just who they pretend to be, but who they really are. You start noticing the tone beneath their words, the silence in their actions, the way someone shows up or doesn't. And eventually, you realize not everyone you love will love you back the same way. And that's one of life's hardest truths. I've trusted people I shouldn't have. I've opened my heart to people who didn't know how to hold it. I've kept secrets for people who never kept me. But through every disappointment, every goodbye, every betrayal, I've learned something. I've learned that letting go isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. There was a time when I thought I had to explain myself, to justify why I felt hurt, to try to fix what was never mine to fix. But these days, I've found peace in walking away without making a scene, quietly, gently, not with bitterness, but with clarity. If someone treats you like an option, it's okay to leave them like a choice. That's not cold. That's self-respect. You see, trust isn't something to be given just because someone asks for it. It's earned. It's built. And when someone breaks that trust, they're not just breaking a promise. They're breaking a connection, a piece of safety we offered them. But here's the lesson that set me free. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. You can forgive someone and still not invite them back into your life. You can wish them well and still walk away. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. And peace, my dear, becomes sacred with age. I know how it feels to lose people who mattered. Some through betrayal, others through distance, and a few through life just moving on in different directions. That kind of grief doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with quiet acceptance. But hear me when I say this. Not every ending is a failure. Some endings are grace in disguise. Some people are only meant to be in our story for a chapter, not the whole book. And the sooner we accept that, the more space we make for the right people. The ones who see you, not just when you're shining, but when you're struggling. The ones who stay, even when it's inconvenient. The ones who don't need a reason to love you. They just do, as so many women carry pain silently. We tell ourselves to be strong, to move on, to smile. But strength doesn't mean holding it all in. Real strength is knowing when to release, when to say, this is no longer mine to carry. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to protect your heart. You're allowed to stop answering calls that leave you drained. That's not cruelty. That's healing. And sometimes, the person you need to stop trusting is the voice inside your head that keeps telling you You're not enough. That voice that reminds you of old wounds, that replays old conversations like they still define you. Let me tell you something. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You're not anyone's version of who you should have been. You are who you are today, and that is more than enough. It's okay to change your mind, to change your path, to change your circle. It's okay to start over. Not because you failed, but because you finally chose you. There's freedom in letting go, not with anger, but with love. Love for yourself. Love for your future. Love for the woman you're still becoming. So if today you're holding on to guilt or grief or someone who made you feel small, I want you to breathe, and I want you to know you don't have to hold on anymore. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the space you clear to welcome something new, something better, something softer. And maybe, just maybe, it's the moment you finally come home to yourself. 3. Inner strength and self-worth. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time trying to be what everyone needed me to be. A good daughter, a good wife, a good mother, a good friend. And somewhere along the way, I forgot to ask myself a simple question. What do I need to be for me? As women, especially women of a certain age, we've been taught to give, to put ourselves last, to carry the weight of everyone else's needs like it's our duty. But what no one tells you is this: if you spend your whole life pouring into others without ever refilling your own cup, one day you'll wake up feeling empty, exhausted, lost. And that's not selfish. That's human. The world often measures our worth by how much we do, how much we produce, how much we give. But your worth doesn't come from being busy. It doesn't come from checking every box or pleasing every person. Your worth is in your being, not your doing. It took me a long time to learn that I am not defined by my mistakes. I am not defined by the roles I've played or the people I've lost. I am not defined by my past. I am defined by how I rise, by how I love, by how I treat myself when no one's looking. There's a kind of strength that doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to prove anything. It's the kind of strength that shows up quietly, when you choose to get out of bed on a hard day, when you set a boundary for the first time, when you say no without feeling guilty. That's real strength. And let's talk about guilt for a moment. That heavy, familiar feeling so many of us carry. Guilt for resting, guilt for saying no, guilt for wanting more. But guilt has no place in a life built on self-love. You are allowed to take up space. You're allowed to have needs. You're allowed to protect your peace. I've learned to talk to myself like someone I love, to look in the mirror, not with criticism, but with kindness. To say, I'm proud of you, even when no one else is saying it. Because here's the truth. If you're waiting for the world to affirm your worth, you might be waiting forever. But the moment you begin to believe it, everything changes. Self-worth isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's knowing that you matter, even when you're not performing. That you are enough, even when you're not being everything to everyone. There's a saying I love: work at your job and make a living. Work on yourself and make a fortune. And I don't just mean money. I mean richness of spirit, joy, peace, confidence. That's the kind of fortune we build when we invest in our own growth. You don't need anyone's permission to become who you've always wanted to be. You don't need to explain your dreams. You don't need to prove your worth. The fact that you're here, still growing, still learning, still showing up, that speaks volumes. So if no one told you lately, you are powerful. You are beautiful in ways that cannot be measured. And you are doing better than you think. From this moment on, I want you to walk a little taller, Speak a little kinder to yourself. And remember, your strength has nothing to do with how much you carry. It has everything to do with knowing when to set it down. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to bloom at your own pace. And most importantly, you are allowed to love yourself just as you are. No upgrades required. Because you, my dear, have always been enough. 4. Reinvention and Purpose. One of the biggest lies women are told is that our best years are behind us. That after a certain age, we're supposed to shrink, fade into the background, and just be grateful for what we've already had. But I'm here to tell you, that's simply not true. You are not too old. It is not too late. And no, you have not missed your moment. Some of the most incredible women I know started their most meaningful journeys after turning 50. I've seen women go back to school in their 60s. I've seen grandmothers become authors, artists, travelers, entrepreneurs. I've seen women rediscover who they are after decades of being who everyone else needed them to be. You see, reinvention isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. That passion you buried, that curiosity you ignored because life got busy, that dream you told yourself was silly, it's still there, and it's waiting for you. One of the gifts of growing older is that you start to care less about what other people think. You begin to see how fleeting opinions are and how lasting your own joy can be when you stop apologizing for it. Reinvention doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. Sometimes it's as simple as signing up for that dance class you always wanted to try, or planting a garden, or learning to play an instrument just for the joy of it. You don't need to monetize your hobby. You don't need to make it productive. You just need to make it yours. And let's talk about purpose for a minute. So many of us reach a point where we wonder, what now? The kids are grown. The routines are quieter. The noise has faded, and we're left with ourselves. But hear me when I say this. Purpose isn't a job title. It's not tied to youth. It's not something you had and lost. It's something that evolves. Your purpose might be mentoring a younger woman who reminds you of yourself. It might be sharing your story so someone else doesn't feel so alone. It might be creating beauty through your hands, your words, your time. And sometimes your purpose is simply to enjoy your life. To wake up each morning with peace in your heart and a quiet confidence that says, I'm still here. I'm still becoming. There's no age limit on becoming who you want to be. There's no deadline on discovering new parts of yourself. Life didn't forget you. It's still inviting you. In every sunrise, every conversation, every chance to begin again. And if you've ever thought, what do I have to offer now? Let me remind you, you have lived, you have learned, you have loved deeply and lost bravely. You have wisdom that only experience can teach. That is more valuable than gold. So don't let anyone make you feel like you're done. You're not done. You're just entering a new season. One where you don't have to prove anything. One where your joy matters. One where your voice is finally heard, even if the first person who needs to hear it is you. You're not starting over. You're starting from experience. And that, my dear, is a powerful place to be. So say yes to the new chapter. Say yes to becoming. Say yes to you. Because your story isn't over. It's just getting good. 5. Love, legacy, and living fully. When we talk about legacy, we often think of big things. What we'll leave behind, what people will remember. But as I've grown older, I've realized that legacy isn't always loud. It doesn't always show up in grand gestures or big titles. Sometimes, legacy is the way you made someone feel when they were having a hard day. It's the phone call you made when your friend needed to hear your voice. It's the smile you gave the stranger at the grocery store when no one else saw them. It's your laughter, echoing in your grandchildren's memories. It's the quiet wisdom you offered without needing to be right. Real love isn't always flashy. It's often in the little things. In the way you fold someone's laundry with care. In the meals you've cooked 1,000 times without needing thanks. In the way you've shown up, over and over, for people who may never have even noticed. And maybe that's the most beautiful kind of love, the kind that asks for nothing but gives everything. But let's be honest, sometimes love can be painful too. Sometimes we give our whole hearts to people who couldn't hold them. We sacrifice for people who took us for granted. We stay silent to keep the peace, even when we were aching inside. If that's part of your story, I want you to hear this. And loving someone who didn't love you well doesn't make you weak. It means your heart is brave. It means you showed up when it mattered. And that counts for something. But now it's time to give that same love to yourself. To speak kindly to yourself in the mirror. To celebrate your small wins. To forgive yourself for the things you didn't know back then. To honor your needs, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Because when you start living from love, not just for others, but for yourself, everything changes. Living fully doesn't mean chasing constant happiness. It means feeling deeply, being present, laughing loudly when something's funny, crying freely when your heart is heavy, letting yourself be fully human. It means saying yes to new experiences, even if they scare you a little. It means saying no when your soul is tired. It means knowing that your life doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. And it means realizing that your story, in all its beauty and messiness, is enough. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to have the perfect marriage, or the perfect family, or the perfect body. What you do need is peace, and joy, and space to breathe. You've spent so many years taking care of others. Now it's time to take care of you, to nourish your spirit, to reclaim your time, to live, not in fear or guilt or duty, but in love. Because the truth is, you are still writing your legacy. With every word you speak, with every act of kindness, with every brave choice to show up exactly as you are. So, what do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to be remembered as someone who loved deeply, who listened with her whole heart, who found a beauty in the everyday and chose joy, even when it was hard? Because that's within you. That's who you already are. And if today is quiet, if you're feeling a little alone, I want you to know this. Your life has already touched more people than you'll ever realize. You have loved. You have mattered. You still do. Your legacy is not in the things you leave behind, and it's in the love you give while you're still here. So live fully, love freely, and know that even now, your story still has so much more to say. A letter to your younger self. Dear younger me, I know you were doing your best, even when you were exhausted, even when you doubted yourself, even when no one saw all the invisible work you were doing just to hold everything together. I see you now, and I want to tell you, you were more than enough. You didn't always have the answers. You made mistakes. You trusted the wrong people. You stayed too long in places that didn't feel like home. But you also loved with your whole heart. You showed up, even when it hurt. You kept going, even when you wanted to give up. You gave everything you had to your family, your children, your community. And somewhere in all that giving, you forgot how to give to yourself. You thought that self-care was selfish. You thought your dreams could wait. You thought your worth had to be earned. But it didn't. And it never did. You were worthy from the very beginning. I wish I could go back and wrap you in my arms and whisper, it's okay to rest. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to choose yourself. I wish you'd known that you didn't need to shrink to make others comfortable, that it's not your job to fix everything, or to carry more than your share just because you're strong enough to do it. And yet, through it all, you became me. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the way you kept your heart open, the way you never stopped hoping, the way you held your head high, even when the world tried to wear you down. I'm proud that you loved fiercely, that you forgave people who never apologized, that you built a life out of love and grit and grace. You didn't always get it right, but you grew, you evolved, you became softer in some ways, stronger in others. And every version of you was needed to become who I am today. Now, I live with more gentleness. I know now that peace is more valuable than approval, that joy can be quiet, that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. And I also know this: we're not done yet. There are still sunsets to watch, books to read, hands to hold, moments to laugh so hard we can't catch our breath. There are still dreams in this heart, different than the ones we had when we were 20, but just as sacred. There is still time. And even though our body has changed, our soul has only grown more radiant. We carry wisdom now, not the kind you read in books, but the kind that lives in your bones. The kind that says, I've been through the fire, and I've come out softer, not bitter. So to the woman I once was, thank you for your strength, your softness, your faith, your messiness, your trying. And to the woman I am now, I'm still learning, still growing, still loving this life, one imperfect moment at a time. This journey was never about getting it all right. It was about becoming real, becoming whole, becoming me. And I wouldn't change a thing.